Hello viewers watching at home, this is BrandPlus TV you're watching. Your host is Chef Andy and the show's name is Dinner Guide. I am going to be bringing you a dish, a beautiful soup that is made to order. You can make this anywhere at home. Very simple soup. I'm just going to introduce the ingredients and tell you more about it as we go. So right in front of me I have some chopped tomatoes. I've got a nice bowl here of fresh coriander. I've got a tiny amount of chicken. And then on this side, I've got some taco spice, I've got some white chopped onion, some chives, some red chopped onion, some salt, some red kidney beans, and then I've got some chicken stock, some apple cider vinegar, and some vegetable cooking oil. We're now just going to take a small short break, and when we come back, we're just gonna go right into it. So take this time to grab your pen, grab your pieces of paper, and let's get cooking. Welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dinner Guide, the show that brings you the most beautiful made dishes that you can be able to make in your very own home. For those who missed out on the beginning part of the show, we're going to be making a very, very simple dish today. We're going to be making a Mexican style soup. I'm just going to rush through the ingredients once more. I've got some fresh coriander, some chopped tomatoes, some diced chicken breast or chicken thigh, doesn't matter. And then I've got some taco spice, some white onions, some red onions, some chives, some salt, some red kidney beans, and then I've got some chicken stock, I've got some apple cider vinegar, and I've got some cooking oil. So we're just gonna jump straight into it, and I'm gonna take you through that slowly. So we're just gonna start by cooking down, browning our chicken in our hot pan here. So basically the idea of the dish is it's more of a chunky soup, so it's not a puree, neither is it a chowder. This is something that you can have even as an alternative to, I don't know, maybe a stew or a curry. So this is a very, very simple dish. It goes well for kids' meals, it goes well for adult dishes, and best part of it is it's very, very easy to make, as you're going to see now. So I'm just going to start by turning up my heat on this end. So on this side I have my pan, non-stick, but you're allowed to use any saucepan that you have in your kitchen. If it's got a thick base, even better. So what I'm gonna do is I've got some water that's steaming in there, and what I want to do, because I don't want to use any oil and I don't want it to stick to the pan, I'm just gonna throw in the chunks of chicken in here, like so. Then I'm gonna give that a small mix. So basically this is a very, very good dish because first of all, we're not using so much oil like most people would assume we would. On this particular dish, we're actually going to use the oil right at the end. So basically we're just gonna drizzle just a little bit of it before serving it. And then basically we're just gonna cook everything in a system. We're just going to chuck everything in small bits and pieces. We're gonna let it cook right through. So the beginning part, I'm only going to use just a little bit of water just to get that chicken nicely steamed. And then once the water is as the water continues to reduce, then I'm gonna incorporate my chicken stock. So this is what I'm actually adding now. So you're allowed to use a chicken cube. If you don't have time to make your own chicken stock, you can also just use vegetable stock if it's easier to make at home, but I recommend if you do have the time, make it fresh. So we have now the chicken still going. It's nice and white, nice and velvety. And then now I'm just going to add my tomatoes in there. So it's all chunky, as I said. It's not a puree, it's not a chowder. It's a very, very special soup. So I'm just gonna add that, and I'm gonna turn my heat to high. And we're just gonna keep stirring that slowly. So basically at this part in time, you basically wanna just let all that tomato just break down slowly. That is why we're just throwing them right in as soon as the water has hit its boiling point. So if you can be able to see it from at home, you can see it's looking a little murky, the chunks are looking a little big, but what happens is as we continue to cook this, the chunks are just going to break and it's just going to continue thickening as we continue. So as that continues, I'm just to go now grab my beans. So this is red kidney beans. You can boil your own beans, you can cool them off and use them much later in the dish. But if you're making it in a hurry, you're also allowed to use canned beans. You can find those in any store next to you. So I'm just gonna throw those in here. Just gonna give it a little shake and let that simmer for a little while. And then in front of me now I have some coriander, so I'm just gonna use this two ways. I'm gonna first use it as a garnish, and I'm also gonna chop just a little bit in there just for the aroma. So I'm just gonna grab about maybe 2-3 little branches there. So sharp knife always. So what you wanna do is first take the stalks off. You don't want those in your soup. So then you just grab your leaves, just hold them together. So what you wanna do is you wanna get a coarse texture with the leaves. You don't want to chop them too fine. So I'm just gonna let my knife work itself right through like so, all the way to the end. Simple stuff. And then we're just gonna throw all that in there. So in this point in time, you can just continue just stirring your pot. You can actually use your wooden spoon as well to try and break the tomatoes as they continue cooking. So I'm just gonna give that a small mix. And remember, this is simmering at high heat. Remember, we wanna just break the tomatoes at this point in time. They're nice and chunky, so we're just gonna give it a bit more time to cook. And we're now going to grab our onions. So I'm using 3 sets of onions here. I've got a bit of red, a bit of white, and a bit of chives. Just gonna put a small pinch of each in there. Gonna go with a white onion. Then I'm gonna go with my red onions. Gonna give that a small mix, and I'm just gonna let that continue cooking. So basically this has been cooking for now about 4 to 5 minutes from the beginning. For those who missed out, in the pot in front of me, I have some chicken pieces. I've got some chunky tomatoes. I've got some chopped fresh coriander. We just added in a bit of our red onions, our white onions, and our chives. All the ingredients that are in there, we're just gonna let them cook in together. We wanna get that texture going. We wanna break down our tomatoes. So I'm just gonna keep stirring that and cook it a little longer. So just to season this, as I said, it's a very Mexican dish. So the seasoning I'm using today is a special one actually. You can get this in most shops next to you. You can get it at the big supermarkets around your neighborhood. So this is basically taco spice. It's very Mexican. A touch of heat, a touch of spice, beautiful flavors. So this is actually, please do not assume this is curry powder or it's hot sauce, because it's actually not for heat, it's actually for flavor. So we're just gonna keep mixing our soup as it continues. So as you can see, the tomatoes are nicely breaking up. The soup is now just starting to really get that texture, that thickness is running through there. At the moment, you can't really get so much aroma because we haven't added any seasoning to it. Remember, the best way of making your soup is season it right at the end so that you don't overpower the flavors. So I'm just gonna keep mixing that. And while that's cooking, we're gonna be cooking this a little more than the time we thought. We're probably gonna give it about another 5 minutes. In the meantime, we're gonna take a small break, and when we do come back, we're gonna show you the last bit of the soup, basically where we're gonna incorporate the seasoning, we're gonna incorporate the taco spice, we're gonna plate it, we're gonna garnish it, and then you viewers at home can be able to get the idea of what exactly we are doing on the show today. So don't touch that dial. See you when we'll be right back shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dinner Guide. I am your host, Chef Andy. For those who missed out, what we're making exactly today is a very beautiful Mexican soup. It's a Mexican and bean soup with a bit of taco seasoning. So basically, for those who missed out on the first bit of the show, we already have the soup going here, and whatever's in the pan, I'll just give you an insight. We first put our chicken in there and we let it simmer in some water for a little bit. We then added our tomatoes and we let those cook down. We let the water as well from the beginning, so we let the tomatoes just release all the water, and then we add a bit of chicken stock to that. And then we also incorporated in there a bit of coriander. We added a bit of beans, and now we're just getting to the last part of the soup, basically where we season it and we just serve. So I'm just going to show you what exactly it looks like now. So if you can see it really well, you can see that it's actually now just mashing up. It's just very, very much now getting to that texture we were looking for. So now at this point in time, so I've been simmering that for about 10 to 15 minutes. On high heat, you could be able to cook it maybe between 7 and 8, but on medium, between 12 and 15 minutes works for me. Actually, it works best for the soup. So now I'm just going to, so this has been simmering at low heat. I'm just going to bring it up to medium, and then we're going to just jump in with our seasoning. So in this bowl, I have some taco seasoning. As I said, you can buy this anywhere locally. It's actually available at supermarkets near you, so please feel free to check out your shelves. And as I said, if you didn't get the name, it's taco seasoning. So I'm just going to add that into this pot, all of it. And then I'm just going to add just about half a teaspoon of salt. Remember, we don't want to overpower the flavor. We just want to enhance it. So I'm just going to give that a mix. The aromas are coming through now. So this is looking good. I'm just going to drop the heat a little bit. So as you can see, very low flame. I'm just going to give it a mix. We're just trying to get all that excess water to just evaporate so that we get a nice consistent soup. Remember, this is supposed to be served chunky. You can also have a side of rice with this dish. You can have some mashed potatoes with this. So it's something that doubles up as a sauce, as a soup, and you can actually have it on its own even as a breakfast item. So this is now just about ready. We're just gonna give that a small taste. Okay, we're just gonna add a tiny bit of salt. Just get that seasoning right. So now that's about 3/4 teaspoon of salt in there. And now this is good to serve. I'm just gonna turn that off quickly. So remember, this is a nice healthy option that you can give to your kids. You can give this to the elderly. You can have this even on your bad days. It's a nice pick-me-up, and it's a very, very good soup as well. So I'm just gonna give that a nice mixture. And then we're just gonna go straight to plating. So I'm just gonna grab my bowl. So a secret to just pouring out your soup without making a mess, without having to clean your bowl over and over again, I always insist, just grab a spoon. Just have a spoon seated right over your bowl, and then just let the soup just roll right around it. So that technique will ensure that you don't have splatters of sauce and bits of red all over your counter. And plus, it also helps you to just get that beautiful, beautiful finish to your plating. So that's all gone in there. So I'm just gonna lift my spoon now. I'm gonna put that aside. And ladies and gentlemen, like you can see, the bowl is nice and clean. No splatters anywhere around the bowl. So I'm just gonna give that a little shake. So now we're just gonna finish it off. Just gonna give that a bit of black pepper right on the top, like so. And then I'm just gonna grab a bit of my coriander leaves. So you're just using just a bit of it just for garnish. So just break the leaves out like so. You remember, you don't wanna put the stalks in your soup. You only just want the leaves. So I'm using maybe about 3 stalks now. You can see them right there. So I'm just gonna add 1 more. So I'm just breaking the coriander. This is fresh coriander for those who missed out on the earlier bits of the show. So I've got some fresh coriander. I've got my bean Mexican soup there. So all I'm gonna do is just finish it off. So what I have in the bottle here is apple cider vinegar. This is a nice pick-me-up to the soup. It just brings out the freshness in the tomatoes. So I'm just gonna give that a small drizzle right on top. And then a bit of oil. So I recommend, if you don't have vegetable oil, you can go with olive oil. If you have the two, stick with olive oil. So just a nice little dollop in the center. There we go. And then your coriander leaves right in the middle like that. So ladies and gentlemen, nice, simple, clean dish. For those who missed out on the introduction bits of the show, so this is basically a Mexican bean dish. It's actually a Mexican bean soup. Very simple to make. That took us about 10 to 15 minutes. Remember, you can make this in advance. This can last in your fridge at least 5 days. You can freeze it, it'll last even longer, but we always recommend, if you do have the time for it, make it fresh. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in today. I have been your host, Chef Andy, and you have been watching Dinner Guide on BrandPlus TV. Do tune in next time when we are probably going to be making something a little more interesting and a little more diverse. I recommend that you also leave your comments, leave your suggestions and your recommendations on our Facebook page. Follow us, tweet us anytime you can. And between now and the next time, from me, Chef Andy, and from the team here at BrandPlus TV, thank you for tuning in. Have a lovely night.